Hello everybody and a very warm welcome to this week's SoulDisco.de special. My name is Nadine and this week we welcome Hues Corporation original member Kenny James. He's talking about his time in the Hues Corporation. He's sharing some delightful memories of his time and also sharing some personal accounts about that. The Hues Corporation is having, or is known as one of disco's leading groups, as they had their 1973 hit single Rock the Boat. I think everybody knows that. We did a special about the Hues Corporation last week. If you haven't seen it, check out our YouTube channel. And in the meantime, let's have the chat with Kenny James. We hope you enjoy it, and please stay tuned because after the interview, Kenny is sharing an unreleased track with some unknown candid pictures of his time with Hues Corporation. Have a blast. Thank you.
For you, there might be a bright star, but through my eyes, the light of you is all I see. And for you,
how are you?
I'm fine under the circumstances of this whole situation we are all going through.
Yeah. I'm in my little bubble also. I haven't traveled in a while, and as a matter of fact, I don't even go out to eat. I've been cooking at home for a year and 2 months now.
You have to answer me a secret.
Mm-hmm.
I have seen pictures of you from the late 70s, and it doesn't seem that you aged anyhow. It's how do you do that? I've seen pictures of you where you were on stage and they had your profile, and I thought, my God, is he doing how do you do that?
I don't know. Some people, I just think maybe it's genetics or something, and I try to eat healthy, stay healthy, and stay fit, and enjoy life. I have a lot of things I love doing outside of music, and that just keeps me pretty
Awesome.
happy.
So, first of all, as you know, we're doing a special on the Hues Corporation, and I had Wally on the phone with his wife Ava a few days ago, and it was outstanding. And so I'm very happy to talk to a former member of the group.
Oh yeah.
As Anne is unfortunately not able to attend out of
That's what I heard.
out of medical reasons, and well, yeah, that's tough, but I'm wishing her all the
It's
best.
just sad, but she was so much fun. She she just made me always feel just the greatest, and so almost like a mother figure, you know.
Yeah. So yeah, I hope she will recover, and I'm wishing her all the best. So
Yes.
I want to point out for the fans, just to make any confusion clear, that you are not one of these people.
No.
No, and
No.
you're
I
also
replaced one of them. I think it was Carl.
yes.
As a matter of fact, I don't even think I've ever seen that picture.
That's yeah. I found it in a record store in Germany. That's the German version, and
Oh
it's
yeah.
already when Rock the Boat was pretty much a big hit, but actually it's the album Freedom of the Stallion.
Oh
But
yeah.
still
Freedom
not
of the Sky. Oh
on
yeah.
the main thing. So and I also want to point out for everybody that you're also not one of these people.
No. As a matter of fact, I think that was sometime after that I replaced this guy in the Hues Corporation.
Yes, I think it was Fred Williams. I'm not.
No, it was either Carl. I think his name was Carl. They had a few members.
Yeah, during the years there were some members. We had Tommy, we had Carl.
Right. Carl is the one that I knew of.
So maybe it was him.
Yeah.
But I just want to point out for people who later watch it, you know, just to.
Right.
But you were featured on a cover for the last album. But first of all, we kind of know the story of Hues Corporation. So I want to hear a little bit of your story and how you got into music business and also became a member of Hues Corporation later on. So maybe we would start with telling me a little bit about you.
Well, I was performing during that time in nightclubs around the country for many years. And how I ended up getting into the Hues Corporation is a couple of musicians that were in my band on the East Coast of the U.S. moved to Los Angeles. And I think maybe a couple of years later or sometime, I moved to Los Angeles. And I think that's when one of the members of the Hues Corporation left. I think it was Carl, to maybe pursue his own solo career. And they were looking for a lead singer to replace. And so the musician said, hey, there's a guy that we worked with, Kenny James. He could replace, he could do the whole thing. And that's when they called me, and I said, sure. I was new in Los Angeles. It was a thrill because I was a fan of the group. As a matter of fact, the band that I was in, it was a cover band. And one of the songs that we were preparing to do for one of our new shows was Rock the Boat. And it was just so ironic that, you know, I moved to Los Angeles and here I am now in the Hues Corporation.
Okay, so yeah, I think Rock the Boat is all over the place somehow, right?
All over the world. Because when we did, we performed in South America, Chile, as you saw the clip, that was a TV special, but we had done a live concert just before then, and I have pictures of it. It looked like it had to be 10,000 people in the arena for the Hues Corporation. It was that amazing.
When you joined the Hues Corporation in the late 70s, there weren't the kind of hit machine there were in the mid 70s or beginning of the 70s. And I've seen an interview where you said we were in other countries and we were almost treated like the Beatles, and we got back to the States and nobody knew us. How did you handle that?
Well, you know, that's what happens in the States. I mean, there are many acts that that were popular, that their popularity increases or stays the same outside of the U.S. But you know, there's so many acts in the U.S. and the U.S. Public is kind of fickle. You know, you're hot one day, and if you don't follow up with a string of hits right after that, you know, they just move on to the next act, where they're not as loyal as acts outside of, audiences outside of the U.S. Like I say, in South America or New Zealand, the Hues Corporation was like the Beatles. But in the States, you know, it's like, what have you done lately?
Yeah, okay. So how did you know when you grew up that you had a great voice and wanted to be a singer? How did that start for you?
Well, my mother was a singer, and she, I suppose, my mother was a singer. My father was a boxer, and I took to singing because one, I have a low tolerance for pain, so I didn't want to get hit and get into boxing. And two, singing was a immediate gratification. You know, you put it out there and you got a response, mostly love back. And I've always wanted to be a singer from a little child. I did it in school. I did talent shows in school, and so I just kept that going until I got old enough to be in a band and to perform in nightclubs. And I've been doing this all my life. I have done nothing else. Nothing. Some people say, well, if you had a real job, oh, this was all I've done.
Yeah, but I think being an artist is a tough job because you have to handle so many aspects, and you have to handle an audience. You have to handle sometimes people who are not behaving in the audience. You have to handle the business affair stuff, you know, songwriting and all of that. You have to.
But if you love it, none of that matters. It's just, if you love what you're doing, the business side, the artistic side, the handling musicians, the audience, it's all just one big ball of love.
Did you have an influence when you started singing? Where there's somebody who said, "Oh, that's my hero. That's somebody I want to."
I enjoyed a lot of singers. One, like I say, one was my mother's influenced me singing, and of course there are many other artists that were very popular, entertainers, singers. I mean, I come from the era of Sammy Davis's, the Frank Sinatra's, you know, all of those people that I grew up around. So that was a very big influence.
Mm-hmm. So when you joined the Hues Corporation, were you in hopes that the group could have a start over, or what? When you got in there, what were your feelings when you joined?
The Hues Corporation was a lot bigger than what I was used to. Like I say, I started out with cover bands and worked in nightclubs all around. So the Hues Corporation was such an extreme difference from what I was used to. And I had hoped that it would have continued. I would have loved for it to have continued. I would have time, but they kind of fizzled out. Let me see. This is my internet is unstable. Can you see me okay?
Yeah, we had
I got to notice my internet was
yeah, we had a little problem, but it works. No problem.
Okay. I'd always hoped that the Hues Corporation would have lasted because it was such an incredible experience for me, because I had never with two other Black singers. When the cover band that I was in was me and two female white girls, and to come in to sing with two other Black members, our blend was so wonderful, so natural. Our movements were so natural. The music I loved their music. So it was just such an incredible experience that I would have hoped that would have lasted. But you can imagine how the music industry is. You know, it's just, you got to get those hits out there, and that's, I suppose that just didn't happen.
Yeah, because I've listened to a lot of material from Hues Corporation, and I also have seen the TV special you talked about. And I've read so many comments about it, and there was one comment I really liked. It was about the song "Feelings."
Oh, Feelings! I remember that. Yeah.
And I think everybody in the 70s sang "Feelings." I know Chairs. I think everybody sang it.
That was a big hit back then.
Yeah, it was absolutely a big hit. And I had such an overflow with that song because I love the song. I think it's one of the cheesiest, but most of all, also very true love song, because when you split up, you feel the way the guys describe it in the song.
Right.
So, and your version of it just blew me away. And I was sitting there and I said, I'm falling in love with the song all over again, because the arrangement was so beautiful. And some people also wrote that they wished you would have done that in the studio.
Right. I think maybe one day someone should bring it back into a whole new version. Feelings, nothing more than feelings. I used to love it. Yeah.
It's a beautiful song. And what I found out is the way the Hues Corporation sounded, there is no other group or singer I could compare with. You had something totally and specially unique when you sang. And I could always point out, okay, this is Hues Corporation. This is not Temptations, or this is not somebody else. This is Hues Corporation, because you all, like you said, blended in so perfectly. So, and from me as a listener point of view, it was very difficult to understand that it somehow ended the way it ended.
Yeah, I mean, it ended just like, you mean the Hues Corporation?
Mm.
It ended just like most, they call them one-hit wonders or one-hit bands. That's what happens. Sometimes it's very difficult to follow up with a hit as big as Rock the Boat. I mean, even though they recorded so many songs after Rock the Boat, but nothing as that clicked with the public as that one did.
So when you got in the group, because you were featured on the last album, it was Love Me, Boogie Me, or Boogie Me, Love Me.
Yeah.
What do you remember from the recording session from that album?
Well, the recording, what I remembered most is that I was, I've never discussed this before. I was hoping that one, it would have been the doorway to a larger career for me, because I was doing most of the lead singing, and I just, just as like Diana Ross had all the leads to the songs, I thought maybe that's what was going to happen with me. But what it turned out to be, Wally, the manager, he was really in love with Ann Kelly's voice, which is fine with me because I was in love with Ann Kelly's voice also. And we recorded a few songs, and he seemed to lean more towards using her voice as the lead. And it was a little disappointing to me, but the overall picture, hey, I was still part of a very popular group. I was on stage performing. I was still performing Rock the Boat. Everything was still fine for me on that level. I was just a little disappointed about that, but I was happy for Ann. But once everything was recorded and Wally took the material to the record companies to distribute them, they didn't seem to be as interested. And so we had to go back into the studio, but this took a long period of time. And in the meantime, we had to make a living. And so I couldn't hang in there without any kind of living, working for a living. And that's all I've ever done was music. So it's not like I could go get a job somewhere else. So I had to leave the band. I think St. Clair had to leave the band to do something for work. And that's basically how it ended up disbanding, because of lack of work.
Hmm. I thought it was also a very difficult time, because in 1979 there was the Disco Demolition Day, and music was changing. And I thought it was very tough in 1980 to put out a record which was called Boogie Me, Love Me, when everybody was kind of starting to hate disco and was moving toward to more pop or whatever. Because in 1982 Michael Jackson released Thriller, and that was also a landmark. So I thought that was quite tough to do that.
Yeah, it was. Music was changing. Unfortunately, or fortunately, there was only one person writing the songs. It was Wally. Mm-hmm. Wally wrote all the songs, and I don't think there was any collaboration going on to try to change with the time, as you were saying. And disco was it's kind of interesting. I never really thought of Rock the Boat as disco, but it was, to me, it was just a pop song of the era. And we're disco, Donna Summer was disco. I didn't think in like Freedom for the Stallion and the other boogie songs and Caught Your Act, I didn't think were very disco because that was just my opinion.
Mm. It's mine too. I've recently got the Your Place or Mine album, and to me it's not disco. It's more soul, up tempo soul or
Yeah.
R&B, but it's
Right.
not typical disco songs on it.
Right.
So I also never thought that it was too much disco. So when you got out of the group, when you decided you need to make a living, the last time we hear from you was in 1983 when you recorded, what was it? Give Me a Little Sign and Can't Hold On the Megatron Records label.
Wow.
By the way, I have the record. I love it.
You've done your homework. Yeah, that was it. See, at that point, I had a manager, and it was all about getting a record deal, and ironically, the producer was a disco producer.
Okay.
Just as we were trying to get away from everything, we ended up hooking up with this guy named Elton. I think that was his name, Elton Ahi. And Megatone was a disco record label. I think everything was disco around that time. We didn't see the change coming so quickly.
So you have, I've seen some footage of you performing in Las Vegas. You have a great voice. So from that point on, what happened? Because as far as I know, there was no release of any kind of art. What happened?
Well, right after that, I mean, when I say right after that, I mean within a year, a couple of years or so, there's a jazz sax player, Tom Scott.
Mm-hmm.
I had been performing my own material. I had been doing a lot of writing, and I was working a lot of showcase clubs, trying to bring in record producers and record companies. And Tom Scott happened to come in, and he heard one of my songs, and he asked if he could record that on his album, Target. And so we rearranged it and changed a few things, and we recorded that on his album and went on a little tour, a local tour with his Target album. And that was the single from that album. I don't know if you're familiar with that. You can probably look that one up, and I sang the lead on that. And after that, between working the clubs, I worked in one club. I was the house act in one club in Marina del Rey, California. And the big thing that happened after that was a talent competition in the U.S. called Star Search, and I was a contestant on that show. I think they may have had something like that in Germany or London called whatever.
But everywhere.
Right. It's like it was the American Idol of the '80s, and I won that. I won that for 13 episodes. I was on it for 13 times, and I won the grand prize, which was $100,000. And after that, I was introduced to international festivals around the world. So I had gone and had done Poland, Finland, Indonesia, all of these. So I've been doing that, and did a little theater in between. So I've constantly I haven't stopped, you know. And the most current thing is right now, or the cruise industry. Been headlining on all of those large cruise ships, which are out of commission right now. Mm-hmm. So.
But you're also an artist.
Yes, you see some of my work behind me.
Background, yes.
Yeah, right. So so the music thing, it's Star Search kind of like opened up some doors domestically. As I tell everyone in my show, Star Search has made it possible for me to perform and work as long as I would like to, because people here still in the U.S. are interested and fascinated with that, as I call the American Idol of the 80s.
From all the songs you ever recorded, what's your favorite?
All the songs that I've recorded so many songs that many people have never heard. I have so many.
How can people get in touch with you and get the music? Because like I said, I'm pretty familiar in searching the internet for my research, but for me it was difficult finding your music, and I love jazz, and when I hear that, how can I get your stuff?
Well, I have a lot of songs that are unreleased. That's when I say I have so many songs. The songs that are online, I think, are the only ones that are released, like the one you mentioned, and the one on the Tom Scott album. And I just released a new one after all these years, so many years. It's kind of like it's a social conscious political kind of song, but it's new, just released maybe a couple of months ago for the first time in years. So outside of that, there are just no released songs, publicly released songs.
But I hope you do release some of those.
Well, if there was some interest, you seem to be very versed and interested in knowing your musical history, especially of the 70s. But there are a lot of people that aren't as interested as you are. And if there was, there would be some incentive to put something out.
But maybe you could do a start.
Oh, well, yeah. That's something to think of also.
Yeah, absolutely. We just had yesterday I was having an interview with a lady from the group Hot. They had a huge hit in 1977 of Angel in Your Arms. Mm. And she's also a songwriter. And she said, yeah, we record some demo stuff, but that never got out. And right. We released some snippets of the songs. And within a few days, a few thousand people clicked that and wanted to have the full-length version of it. And it was just a demo release from an old cassette.
Right, okay.
Loved it because it had that 80s kind of feeling. And so maybe this is something you should absolutely think about, putting some stuff out there for people to listen to it, and maybe something comes out of it.
As a matter of fact, I was definitely, it's funny you should mention that. With this new record that I released, I had to open up an account, like with Spotify and iTunes. And since I have an open account, I thought about taking some of these unreleased songs and putting them out. I was just concerned about the quality of them because they're not cassettes, but they're not as digital as the sounds that you hear today. And so I was thinking maybe it might sound a little dated. That's what my hesitancy was. But
that's not digital, that has crackles and some noise, and people love it.
Well, Nadine, you are encouraging me to maybe do that. I think I might, after this conversation here, I might just do that.
I don't even have a CD player. I have a record player, and I have a reel-to-reel tape machine. Mm-hmm. That's it.
Well, there's a large group of people that are into that, but here in the U.S., I never get that. I didn't get that encouragement to do something like that. Now, like I say, in Europe, sounds good.
When the pandemic wasn't here, you have record fairs. And in the Netherlands was a record fair, I don't know, 10,000, 20,000 people go and visit there and buy records. It's totally insane. In Europe, I don't know how it is in America, but in Europe, you sell more vinyl than MP3 or CDs.
Yeah, I hear about that. And it's just maybe, I think they've tried to bring the vinyl back here. I haven't seen a lot of it. But as about a year or so ago, I was seeing a few vinyl, but it's kind of a novelty once in a while here, but yeah, that sounds great.
If you put it in the right context and saying, hey, these are historical recordings, or we hadn't had the equipment back then, but it has the original vibe and feeling, people understand that.
Yeah.
As from my opinion, I don't need to have, you know, this kind of stuff was mastered to be released on vinyl. It was not mastered to be released on CD or as digital. And to me, a digital release sounds totally different than a release who was intended to be done on vinyl and is heard on vinyl. To me,
Yeah, I agree.
digital is bloodless and soulless in some cases, not in every case, but in many cases. And on the record, I hear and sit and say, oh yeah, that's, I think, the way it should sound it. I think that's how the engineer or the group or whoever did it wanted to sound it like. And so, and this, I can at least say from my point of view and how I, when I talk to people, that's what they feel too. So
yeah, I feel the same way. Right behind me on that side, I have a record player, and underneath here I have a bunch of albums. Yeah, so I agree with you.
Yeah, and you know, there are many people who are in their 20s and their 30s, and they are listening to records.
Yeah.
So
Same,
they're,
yeah.
yeah. So like I said, maybe it's an idea to put some stuff out there who has an 80s vibe to it, or whenever you recorded that, I don't know, a 90s vibe. And I think maybe some of it, something comes out of it.
Boy, so many people come up, not so many, but many people come up to me and give me ideas of encouragement, and especially during this period. And that I like that encouragement that you just put towards me. You know, I think I will do that.
Yeah, I heard your voice, and I wanted to hear more. And I don't want to hear, you know, I want to hear your song. I want to hear your art. You know, you're doing a lot of cover songs and everything, and they sound great. I mean, seriously. But I want to hear something that is from you.
Okay.
So
So outside of maybe getting this put onto the streaming platforms, you have any suggestions? I mean, I'd love for you to hear some of them.
suggestion in case of what?
Um, if maybe I get a couple to you so you could hear.
Yeah, just use WeTransfer or whatever, and I can have.
Okay.
So
Yeah.
I would love to.
Okay.
And if you don't mind, we could release some snippets, like 15 seconds of every song after the interview or something, just as you want.
Okay, I'll do that.
Maybe something comes out of it. It opens a new door. Who knows? I don't know.
Right.
So, but we totally forgot about your favorite song.
My favorite song, gosh, I don't. You know, I have three. I have an iPod still, the classic iPod. I have over 3,000 songs on there, and people ask me what's my favorite song. It's hard to say that. My favorite song is a song that matches whatever mood that I'm in at the time. When I do my artwork, I listen to smooth jazz. When I'm riding my bike, I listen to pop rock. You know, and if I'm hanging around the house cooking, I listen to, you know, soul music. You know, so it depends. I have a favorite vocalist. He used to be Luther Vandross. For female, I love more female singers than I do male singers, because the voice cuts through me a lot more than a male vocalist. But you know, it's all a mood thing.
Mm. Yeah, Luther Vandross had a very interesting career, from starting from a background singer to an international star. That yeah.
Yes, exactly.
So during the years, you must have met a lot of talented people. Are there any special ones you wanted to mention?
Oh yeah, I've met a lot of people. It's kind of hard to pinpoint when and who, you know, because gosh, there's so many people. I live in Los Angeles. I mean, I've lived in Los Angeles for umpteen years, and so depends on where I've been. I mean, it's hard to say who I've met. I've met so many.
Okay. Concerning the Hues Corporation, how do you want the group to be remembered?
I would like the group to be remembered as an act that brought so much, that one song brought so much joy to so many people around the world. In my act, in my show right now, I do perform that song, and people come up to me and just tell me, oh, they remember when they were either in high school or in college, and they just that song just meant so much to them. It's just like any song that's a popular favorite, and just a good party song. And when you go, so I'd like to know where you got the notion. People, it just brings a smile on everyone's face. A lot of people, what's interesting is during my show, I don't mention that I was in the beginning of the show, I don't mention that I was a member of the Hues Corporation until maybe towards towards the end of the show. I put up on the IMAX screen some things that I had done in the past. And the video of the Hues Corporation comes up and the band starts playing, and the people go, oh, they had no idea. And so that's what just brings such a party vibe to my audiences when they realize that I was in the band and it's one of their all-time favorite songs. Makes me feel so old too. Yeah.
Oh well, but you lived a very special time, you know. I don't think that these times are ever coming back. So
you know what's interesting also is that the Hues Corporation, when you mention the group, there are just a few people that may not recognize the name of maybe a couple of generations, but all you have to do is da 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 da. So I'd like to know where you got, and everyone in the whole world seems to know that song. You know, from I did an engagement a couple of years ago in a small town in Poland, a town that I can't even pronounce, Zervinjvich or something like that. And I broke out and did the song there, and they just went crazy. Because that song is known on every corner of the earth.
What's your favorite memory in show business?
My favorite memory in show business, I have to say, is the Hues Corporation. It was performing in Chile. It was a little scary because I had never performed for that amount of people. It wasn't scary for the performance. It was when we finished our show, we were escorted to the back of the stage and into a van and taken to our hotel. There were thousands of people outside the van with their hands, just like the Jackson 5 or whatever. It was like that, and it was kind of scary because the van had to make it through thousands of people, and but it was so much fun.
You mentioned that you had some pictures from that period of time, from the concert. Would you like to share some of them?
I don't have them at my disposal at the moment. If I thought about that, if you had mentioned that, I could have pulled out some of those pictures. Let me see, where would they be? I have pictures. I do have pictures. As a matter of fact, I had an album of our just hanging around the candid shots. And everything.
That would be great if you could share some of these, if you feel comfortable with that.
Oh yeah, I just need some time to get them, you know, of Ann, Kelly, and I, and Wally hanging out in restaurants, and it was
that would be great. People would love to see that.
Oh, sure. I have no problem showing those. It's just if I had known you were interested in that, I would have had them prepared for you.
No problem. Internet makes many things possible, so you can send it whenever you feel.
Okay.
But you also wrote a book.
Yes, I wrote a book that I had no idea I could do. But once I started, the thoughts and the memories just started flowing like water. And I just kept typing. It's a biography.
Tell me something. What's
and it's called Before the Spot.
Okay. What's inside the book? Tell me something. Before the Spotlight, it must have been the story before Star Search or Hues Corporation.
Right. It's an autobiography from the age of 4 years old on up to the present time. It has everything from learning to sing, being introduced to music as a child, high school, and the bands that I were in, all the way up to, the Hues Corporation, Star Search, and all the way up to performing on all the different in the cruise industry and traveling and the festivals. It's as I tell everyone, it's a fun journey. It's a journey it's my journey up the ladder.
Awesome. So do you have a final message for the fans?
Just keeping the music alive, keeping the music of the 70s and 80s alive, because there's so much that we're bombarded with music and so many different artists, so many new artists, such a lot of great music, but it is you and I and many people know that the music of the 70s and 80s was so good that many people, artists today, are sampling some of the stuff that we did back then. That's how good the music was. Keep it alive.
So if there are people who want to get in touch with you, how can they do that?
I am on Facebook, Kenny James, or I might be under Kenny James Entertainer. I don't know. It's either Kenny James or Kenny James Entertainer, not entertainment, but entertainer. And on Instagram, I'm all over Instagram. I have at least 3 pages of there. And you can look under Kenny James also there. And I don't change the name at all. So you can always find me. But one thing I did find when I looked on Google, there are a few Kenny Jameses on Google, and some of them are singers, but they're not me.
You're the real thing. So Kenny, all I can say is thank you so much for the interview. It was so delightful.
Nate, thank you, and thank you for your ideas and your encouragement. I will send you some songs that I had done after the Hues Corporation, and some pictures.
When you're feeling lonely and nowhere to go, lost within the sorrow for the one you know, I'll be there like a friend, picking up the pieces to help you start again. There comes a time for healing, heaven knows, a place to soothe your soul. Oh, open up, you will see love is there for you and me, 'cause love is in the lost and found, for a world turned upside down, with broken hearts need a start each and every day. Love is here, lost and found. You got to stand up and make a sound. Say the words to be heard. Show someone you care. Always searching for that special one. Looking